Okay, so what we've done is we've created the wrapper. As we can see, that wrapper is now the basket holding everything inside it. Okay, so the div closes at the very end there, just before the body closes, and everything else is inside the wrapper. Then I've got my nav. Alright, my nav is a division on its own. My banner is a division on its own. Container division on its own, and footer is a division on its own. Okay. What I mean by division on its own is the fact that there aren't any subdivisions inside them yet. Okay. So to illustrate what that would look like, okay, we've got our wrapper. Okay, with our wrapper, just increase that. Cool. Once we created our wrapper, we then went and created our nav. Okay, once we created our nav, we then created our banner. You see, they're all outside of each other, so none of them are built within each other. After we created that, we went and created our container, and after that we went and created our footer. Okay, so we've just got main sections here. Boom, 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 boom. Nothing's been split up yet, nothing's been added within them, we've just got a main structure. Okay, so if we want to start implementing stuff, in the main area where we're going to start now is the container. We can start adding column layouts within the container if we like. For us to do that in our code, we then need to go into the container and we need to go and start implementing new division blocks. Right, so here's my container open and here's my container closed, and this is where I'm now going to start building new blocks. So I'm just going to indent this one so that we can keep track of now subsections within other categories. Okay, so I'm going to say div ID, and I'm going to just call this primitive block dash L. Okay, so this is going to be my block on the left, block dash L. And I'm going to add another block, another division of block dash R, so that I then have a block on the right. Both inside the container. Right, so by doing it the way I'm showing you guys, it sort of frees things up from becoming too complicated too quickly. So you started with a basic shell, and now you're starting to add elements within the shell, rather than adding elements as you go, and then it seems like the code is just very overwhelming. Okay. So now we've got those two blocks. Now essentially what we've done is we've added two blocks within here. Okay, but we want these blocks obviously to react differently, but they're not going to now. They're going to look like that once they are styled. Okay. If we had to look in Dreamweaver at what we have now, we'll actually only have that. All the code we did is just going to show us this. But once we go into CSS and we style it, then all of those blocks are going to know, okay, I must lie here, I must look like this, and so forth. Okay, but that's what we see. So I'm going to now show you quickly. I'm going to take all of that code we just did, copy it, and drop it into Dreamweaver. And there we go. As you can see, that's what we have in the top there. Okay, nothing styled or anything yet. Alright, so what we now want to do is we want to go and link up a style sheet. Okay? And I'm glad to see a lot of you guys seem to have come right with that, linking up an external style sheet. But we haven't created one yet, so I'm just going to create a new style sheet quickly. So I'm going to say File, New, click on my CSS document and say Create. I'm going to File, Save As. Okay, now I'm not being heavy on my root directory at all. Yeah, I'm just dropping it in my documents because I'm just trying to show you guys quickly. Okay, but this would all lie in your root directory. Okay, of the website, please. Okay, and then we'll just say styles. Save that. Now, for us to link this up, we're going to go and call up so some of you guys got this right. Help me out. The link. Link space href, yes. Okay, now I'm going to browse mine because I dropped it in a random place. Okay, style sheet. Now we have to add the relationship as well, or else the style sheet doesn't function. Okay. Once we've got that going, we can see we've got a style sheet linked up and we've got our HTML source code linked up. Now we can start heading into our style sheet and we can start communicating with the HTML we've already created and tell it what it should do, how it should react, and what it should look like. So let's start off with the big mama, our wrapper. Okay, so open up our wrapper. So remember, our wrapper is a div ID, and the identifier uses a hashtag in CSS to be able to communicate with each other. So we say hashtag wrapper. And within the wrapper, we now go and specify the dimensions of that block. So I would like my wrapper's width to be 1360 pixels and the height to be 1200 pixels. Okay, so I've given it some size. Right, as we can see, we've now got a block over there. I'm going to give it a background color as well so you can see that it is in fact there. Background dash color. Let's take the aqua. Okay, so there's our wrapper. Okay, now that's our basket. Okay, so already our basket now has the full dimensions and size of our website. Now everything within the basket needs to fit in there. Okay. So I'm going to save this again and I'm just going to preview for you in Chrome. Hey. Documents. Okay, and here I've got my untitled 2, very poorly named, by the way. Okay, so there's my wrapper. Okay, nice big blue block. Now we head back to the CSS and let's move on to the next phase, nav. Okay, the nav we know is going to have the same width as our wrapper because it stretches the full width across our wrapper. Height, however, is not going to be the same height because our nav has got a smaller height. It's going to be, let's say, 75 pixels high. And I'm going to give it a background color as well so that you can see it. Of black. There she is. Right, just refresh the browser here. And there your nav is now in place. So remember guys, try not to complicate it from the beginning. Start off with structured sections and then start adding and building onto those sections as you go. Don't build onto them from the get-go. First get the core elements in place. And then you know items aren't going to move around and look funky. Okay, next up, banner. Okay, so what we're doing now is basically rinse and repeat. Hashtag banner. Alright, we're going to change the width is going to be exactly the same. The height is going to be different though. I'm going to give that a height of 350 pixels, let's say. And I'm going to change up the background color to red. Okay, nav, banner. Next we're going to move on to our container and our footer. Right. So once you've got the structure in place, things start working out. Okay, so I'm going to head over to container. Okay, again I'm using the full width. The height, however, I'm going to make 550, let's say. And the background I'm going to change up to a green. Okay, that's still quite small. Let's go 750. Cool. Refresh. Save it. Okay, so we've got our nav, banner, container, footer. Right, let's go and implement our footer as the last main block. So hashtag footer. Okay, full width, height. Not 100% sure as to how much height we have left here. Let's say 75 pixels, the same as the nav. Okay. Alright. And there we go. There we've got our main structure set up. I'm just going to remove or change the height slightly for the wrapper because I've still got some blue. I'm going to change that to 1000. Too much. 1150. Right, so 1150 seems to be the happiness height. This would obviously depend on what your Photoshop design tells you, height-wise, width-wise. Okay, so at the moment I'm just thumb-sucking them just to show you guys. So there we've got our nav, there we've got our banner, here we've got our container where all of our content's going to lie, and there we've got our footer. Easy enough. Cool. Right, so now let's just go and implement block L and block R into our content block, okay, our container block. So I like to keep my CSS similar to the structure of my HTML. So as you can see, I started with my wrapper, I ended with my footer, exactly like the structure there. Now, when I'm working with block L and block R are within container. So I'd like to have them close to container. Okay, so I'm going to have my container CSS rule here. And then just below that, I'll start with my block L and block R. So that way I know when I find my container, those two are close by as well. So if ever I need to edit them in some way. Okay, so there's my block L. Now my block L is going to have a width as well of, let's say, 500 pixels. And it's going to have the full height of my container, which is 650 pixels. Okay, and same thing for block R. Right, once we refresh that, oh wait, let's get in background colors quick, sorry. Background dash color, and let's make you that color. Okay, so then we've got background colors, so let's refresh. And as you can see, it's relatively the same as predicted. Okay, that's basically what our layout is going to look like once we've got the structure sort of styled. Okay. Now what we need to do is just dive a little bit deeper with these blocks, the container blocks, so that they know that they must align next to each other and not stack below each other. And an easy way of doing that is just implementing floats. So we can just add a float dash or a float colon left to both items, left and right. Okay. Float left and float left. That way both blocks know, okay, I'm going to float to the left, and the other one says, okay, I'm coming in as well. And then they lie next to each other as if it's Valentine's Day. See? So that one floats pushing to the left, it hits the wall there and it can't go anymore. This one's told, okay, float as well, so it pushes to the left until it hits that wall and it can't go anymore there. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go and implement, because we would like some spacing between these guys, okay, because it isn't Valentine's Day yet. So we're going to go and implement margins, left margins, so that they push from the left, push from the left. Okay, so let's go and do that. So let's say margin dash left, and I'm going to just implement a 2% at first just to see what we get from that. I'm going to add that to both items. Okay, as we can see, we've got some nice movement. Okay, a little bit of space there. What we can do is we can also increase the widths a bit of these two columns because they are quite small versus the space that they are within. So I'm going to change that to 600 and change that to 600. Just changing block left and block right's width slightly so that they're a bit wider. Okay, and we can increase that to 3%. The margins. Possibly 4%. Beautiful. Okay, not too bad. Alright, so then we've got our nav, here we've got our banner, we've got the container, but the container is there just for our peace of mind. It's there just to hold what's within it, okay, and that's got block L and block R in it, and then we've got the footer below that.